Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Beyond Boardroom Business. I'm your host, Coach Stephanie, and tonight I have an amazing guest. She is phenomenal. And, without further ado, let's just bring her up so she can tell all of you how amazing she is. So, Miss Candice Avery, how are you this evening?
Hi, I'm doing great, Stephanie. How are you?
I am feeling fabulous as always. Thank you for asking. So you're here.
I'm
Thank you. Now,
here.
can you tell us who is Candice Avery?
Yes. Okay. So my name is Candice. I am currently a girls mentorship program executive. So I do a lot of work in schools as well as with empowering girls. My background, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Spelman College. Shout out to the HBCUs. And I also
Yes.
have a bachelor's in nursing and a master's in leadership. So my journey to where I am now has been very diverse, as you can probably tell, based on my educational background, but I'm excited to be here and kind of like dive into it all with you, Coach Stephanie. And thank you. In case I forget to say it later, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course, no problem. So tell us, what is Fashionably Late about?
So, Fashionably Late is the name of my mentorship program. It is actually based on a book called Fashionably Late. The Late stands for Living Authentically Transformed and Empowered. So,
Ooh.
it's based off of a book. The book was inspired by stories that I would tell my daughter as she was going to bed. She would always ask me, Mommy, tell me a story about when you were growing up, a story about when you were a little girl. And I lost my mom when I was young. And I really wanted to make sure that I left my stories and my life lessons somewhere in writing for my daughter. That's one of the things that I always have kind of grasped for and reached for is things in writing from my mom. And so I wanted to make sure that my daughter had that from me. And so the book has 10 chapters. It is based on life lessons from, I tell my personal story. I talk about the lesson that I gained from that story. And then it also has fashion tips because, as you can see, I love fashion. I've done some work in the fashion industry. So I wanted to make sure that I incorporated that into the book as well, because that's something that a lot of our young ladies and even adult women are in need of. So
Yes, definitely. So how has your life been impacted with you not being raised by your mom?
So I was raised by her. She actually died when I was an adult. So I was in my
Okay.
20s when she
Okay.
died.
Okay.
But
My
I
condolences.
always like to say, like, in my mind, I always wonder, like, what was she? My daughter wasn't born at the time, when she died. I was kind of newly married, not newly married, but I was like freshly married. So I always think back, like, what would she have thought? Or what would mom have said? Or, if I could call her now,
Yeah.
what would her opinion be on this? So I was raised by both of my parents,
Okay.
thankfully, but it was
Yes.
it was still an interesting upbringing. My dad was a Baptist minister, and my mom
Wow.
was a school teacher. So kind of a strict upbringing. I'm from Arkansas, so not from a big city at all. So it was kind of an interesting upbringing. I talk a lot about it in the book as well. So yeah.
Okay. Is your book available on Amazon, Barnes and
It is.
Noble?
It is fashionably late. You have to do like I don't think you have to, but you will find it faster if you do L.A.T.E
Okay.
for late. And I also have I have the book. I have a journal that goes with the book, and that's part of the curriculum. But the journal is also available on Amazon. And because the book is kind of targeted towards middle high school girls and older and adult women, I created an activity book for young girls as well. So it has coloring pages, journaling pages, and just
Yeah.
like places where they can start being authentic and learning about their authentic selves as well. So that's also available on Amazon as well as my website.
Beautiful. So what have you observed um, while you are leading these girl groups? Is there anything in particular that you notice with this next
Um,
generation?
One thing that has really stood out to me is that our girls have just like a lot of girl drama. I know that there was like a point in education and society in general when we were so focused on our boys, especially our Black boys. So we were so focused on, making sure our boys were good and making sure that they didn't fall through the gaps. I think that a lot of the girl kind of focus was neglected. So I have noticed a lot that we have so many programs focus for boys, that the girls are kind of just, doing their own thing. So there's a lot of girl drama, a lot of challenges with conflict resolution, and just like a lot of social emotional supports that they need that we kind of tackle during my program.
Okay. Are there is there a need for more girl groups to be
Absolutely.
okay. Okay.
Absolutely. Like I said, they are definitely, a lot of the schools that I work with will tell me that the boys, they have their little toughs and their tussles and then they're fine. The girl, you know how girls are, right?
Yeah.
We will
Yeah.
hold a grudge, or it will start like this and it'll turn into something huge because one big thing about girls is that we are taught to be nice, right? We're taught to kind of consider other people's feelings. A lot of things that boys aren't necessarily taught. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that sometimes as a society, we kind of go overboard with teaching girls to like suppress their feelings. And
Okay.
so then, after a certain point, you can only suppress your feelings for so long. So with our young girls who don't really know how to manage that, after a certain point, it's just an explosion. That's when you see those fights. That's when you see all the drama online and the group chats and all that stuff. So a big part of what I do when I talk to them is just kind of talking to them about how to manage their emotions, like in the moment, how to take the moment and without being overly aggressive, use that moment to actually have a conversation and kind of sort through their issues at that time.
Okay. That's really good. And that's really important because when I listen to the music and when I'm driving around, music that is out here now, I just can't imagine. Because from my days, growing up in the 80s or whatever, there was
Yes.
love. It was love songs and things
Yes.
that made us feel good about who we are. But nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
it's just about swiping the credit card and,
Yes.
seeing the opposite sexes. How can you manipulate them?
Exactly. Yes. And it's
Yeah.
on both sides, which is,
Yeah.
back when, I mean, I'm not like a huge hip hop head, but I remember when Lil Kim came out and, she was racy, but she wasn't talking about, let me see how I can, take advantage of the man. Although the
Right.
men were already talking about it. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like everybody's trying to take advantage of everybody else. So it's like, as a society, what are we doing? Like, where are we going with that?
Right. And then it's also, and we're in an age where everything is being recorded on the telephone and on social media, where it's like,
Yeah.
it's really
Nothing's
tough.
flying under the radar anymore. And then another big challenge with social media is that when our young girls are looking at it, they're only seeing a snapshot of these celebrities or like the literal airbrush pictures of
Yeah.
all these girls, and they feel like, I should I should try to look like that, or I should try to behave that way. When really these people that they're looking at and aspiring to be, their lives are completely different than what we assume they are. But as young people, they can't mentally understand that this is not even real. And
Right.
then now AI, shoot, it literally is not real. Like
Oh my
it could be just
gosh.
an AI avatar of somebody, and you're thinking like, oh, she looks perfect, her skin, she's airbrushed, and it's not even a person. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna, like, I am concerned, honestly, about this
Yeah.
generation being able to understand what's real, and like I'm concerned about myself being able to see what's real, because you see things like, is that real? Like, is that
Yeah,
AI? It's hard to tell sometimes.
it
So I
is.
mean, as a society, we are going somewhere, and it's going to be interesting to see where we land.
And I, as well, I am an author and I have put girl groups together. And what I've observed going into different schools and things is that in kindergarten, they are actually dating, and having relationships. And it blows my mind. Um, but when do you think is a healthy age to start dating
Girl.
and
Listen, my daughter is 12. Like, I don't want to put an age out there. No, so I really think it depends on the person. I don't think anybody should be dating younger than like 16, like dating
yeah,
for real. But
right?
then like the maturity level too, like it's really individualized. Like when you feel like somebody's telling, like when I think about my daughter, I'm like, I want her to date. Like my big thing for her is like I want her to date while she's here at home, So
Yes.
because that's something that I did not necessarily get to do growing up because my household was so strict. So I didn't really do a lot of dating in high school. And so
Okay.
when I came to college, I came to Atlanta, right? And
Yeah.
so, I didn't have, like, I feel like if I had started dating at home, and this is what I want for my daughter, I want her to start dating in, high school. And I want to be able to put some structure around that and answer the questions that she may have without her being out in the world and having to figure it out on her own. So I
Yeah.
do think that it's important to have those types of social relationships while you're in the safety of your home, if that's something that you are blessed to have. Um, but I definitely, kindergarten for sure is too young to be dating.
Oh, most definitely. Wow. Yeah. So, um, now when it comes to you writing books, how challenging is it to write a book?
Um, it's gotten okay. So I'll tell you about the books that I've written, and I can rate them by difficulty. My first book was for educators. It was when I first transitioned from healthcare, which was back in 2020. I transitioned from healthcare to the education system. I
Okay.
retired from my nursing industry, but I still maintain my nursing license, just in
Okay.
case. But I transitioned into education and I wanted to, I guess, kind of establish myself as like a content matter expert. A lot of the
Okay.
work that I did in healthcare was around data and helping different departments understand their data and helping them understand like the workflows and how to improve patient outcomes. So I was able to transition that into education and helping administrators and teachers as well as students understand data and use that to improve educational outcomes. So my first book was about that. It wasn't hard, but it was my first book, right?
Okay.
So and then it wasn't something that I was super passionate about. It was just something that I was knowledgeable about. So
Understood.
that one was okay. The second one was kind of a spin-off. The second two were like spin-offs of the first book. So I took a chapter from the first book and like expounded on it. I went into deeper detail for teachers on how they can use data. And then I did another one for
Okay.
how they can help students in student-led conferences use data.
Awesome.
So those two were, much easier because I had kind of the structure already. I just had to expound on that. When I wrote Fashionably Late, though, that one was it was my most fun book to write, but it was honestly my most challenging because I did a lot of deep diving into myself, my own personal life. So I had to dig back into those stories. One
Okay.
of the most challenging chapters that I wrote was about resilience. I talk about kind of the emotions around losing my mom. And my daughter Olivia was actually a twin. So when I was pregnant with her, she was a twin,
Oh,
and we lost her sister during childbirth. So that is a huge part of my story and who I am. So I wanted to make sure that I put that in the book. But it was very difficult to write about it and, talk about my emotions around it, even though, it was a while ago. It's still very raw.
yeah.
And I'm not super like in everyday life, I'm not a super vulnerable person. So I'm
Mm.
not like really just sitting out here sharing like every little thing about my life. So putting that, on paper was really quite challenging. But the book itself was fun. It was fun to write. I
Okay.
loved writing about those stories. Every chapter I have a story, a letter to Olivia. At the end, it says "Dear Olivia," and it
Aw.
talks about, some of the. It talks about the theme of the chapter, so like authenticity or self confidence, and just like a message to her and to whatever girls are reading it about, how you can be your best self and like how you can find support. So that was really fun to write those letters, and then of course the fashion part was fun as well. So yeah, that one it was my hardest book, but it was definitely my most fun book to write too.
Okay. So did you go through therapy or did you self, um,
I
you know?
didn't. I should have,
Okay.
especially when I lost my mom because I had the time and space to go through therapy because we didn't have kids or anything. It was just me and my husband. So
Okay.
I mean, definitely that's something that I should have done. I think myself and my siblings and my dad just really kind of leaned on each other and kind of pulled from each other and shared with each other. But I did not go to a therapist. And then when we lost Avery, who was Olivia's sister, girl, I didn't have time for no therapy. I
Oh,
was full
yeah.
time mom. Like she was,
Yeah.
Olivia was like 3 pounds when she was born, so she was in the
Oh,
NICU for a few weeks. Yeah, she was tiny, but now she's taller than me, so you know. But yeah,
wow.
so it was just like busy times, and then after a certain point, it's not a priority, or you think that it's not a priority anymore. But definitely now that things have kind of settled down a little bit, I've been doing, like, I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of,
Mhm.
self-reflection and just my own personal research, to kind of help continue to build that resilience.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you advise everyone should journal? Everyone should write?
Yes, absolutely. And now I'm the only person in my house that does it. But I encourage it. I encourage it. I journal every day, sometimes twice a day. So sometimes I'll start the day, if I can, if I have that kind of quiet time and space. But I definitely always make time in the evening to kind of reflect on the day. And sometimes it's just like a random brain dump
Yeah.
from just different thoughts that I've had of the day, or just like, and it's my journal. So girl, it's all over the place. Like, oh, and this happened this morning,
Okay.
this happened this evening, but then this happened this morning too. So it's kind of all over the place. It's not structured at all, which I love. It's just really like an expression
Yeah.
of, what I'm feeling today. Sometimes I talk about what happened during the day. Sometimes I just talk about what I'm feeling. And then I also have, sometimes, you don't always have like an easy journal prompt. So I have a list of prompts too that I'll kind of go
Okay.
to. Like if I can't think of anything to write, or like, I didn't do anything today, and it was just like yesterday, I'll go to a journal prompt and just have like an even deeper session of
Oh, nice.
writing, because it's something that I haven't thought of. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
So,
definitely
what
recommend it.
how often do you go back and read, your writings from the past?
Um, so sometimes I just don't. Sometimes I just want to get it out, and I don't even
Okay.
want to look at it anymore. But sometimes, like I do at the beginning of I have it right here actually. At the beginning of my journal, it's like the dates. It's like a month, and it has every day of the month, and it has space where you can write. So I do like a little index. So like, for example, I was in Tennessee in August for my sister's birthday. So on that day I wrote, Tennessee. So in case I'm like, well, what did we do? Or, what was I thinking on that day? I can always flip back and see. But I don't like go back through and read it. I don't know what, like, it's just really cathartic for me to get it out.
Okay.
But maybe sometime next year I'll be like, well, let's see what I was doing last year, just to see if I in the same place last year.
Right, right,
Am I
right.
growing at all?
That's true. It's about
So
growth,
yeah,
growth. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. Like I don't really make a point of going back to read it, but
Okay.
maybe at some point I will.
Okay. So, when you go and speak to the young ladies or adult women, uh, what is your feedback on their self love or how they feel about themselves? What is the state of women today?
Ooh, the state of women today. So the adult groups that I talk to specifically about the content in my books are really usually mixed groups.
Okay.
I do actually a lot of work in churches, so I'll go and talk to their grief support group or something like that, because
Nice.
they will have read my book, or use my book as a book study, and then we'll just go back and with Q&A. So it's usually like a mixed group of males and females. For the girls, as far as self love, I think that they really definitely have a problem. And I think social media, unfortunately,
Oh,
is a big part of that. So, as much as we like to make social media go away, obviously that's not going to happen. So, I think it's on us as older women, and even other older men, to kind of guide them through that process of what it looks like to love yourself.
okay.
I do think that some cultures and some,
Mhm.
maybe even some religions, teach people to be so selfless and to kind of trust on things outside of themselves. Um, so one of the big things that I try to let young ladies know, especially, is that the power is within you. You have
Yes.
to look within in order for you to be powerful and empowered and walk in that way, and that you can't depend on anything that's going on outside of yourself. You have to go within
Yeah.
to get to that place. So that's definitely a challenge. with a lot of the girls, and honestly a lot of the adults that we talk to as well.
Yes, wow, that's really deep. Now, you also create curriculums. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the book actually was turned into a curriculum. It I had someone develop a facilitator's guide. So for every chapter of the book, there are vocabulary words that are pulled out. There are just different questions that can be done in a classroom or can be done, in an after school program, however it's being used. And then there's even like a take home session. So I had it developed by an educational consulting business. And so they made sure that it was like, had like all the appropriate components for academia, so like the tier one supports and all of that stuff. So there is a facilitator guide that comes with it, and basically they use the book as a book study. They go through however they want to pace it, and then they'll go in and like answer the questions. There's a pre and post test as well for every chapter. So it's really, you can really go as deep as you want. I tell when people use it, I tell them they can use it like, you can even make this like a monthly, you go through a chapter a month.
Yeah.
And there's like plenty of material in one chapter to take you through a month of meetings, however you meet with your girls. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then I'll come in. So I come in either some people hire me to actually run the program. So I'll come in like on the monthly basis and like kind of facilitate the actual instruction of the program. But a lot of times, and this is my favorite, it's when I get to come in as like the guest speaker, right? They're like, oh, we have the author here. So I get to come in and do like a Q&A and answer any questions. I like that because it allows people to kind of get their own understanding, like kind of create their own thought process around what's being said in the book. And then when we talk, they're like, well, what were you thinking when you said that? Or like, what did you mean by that? And then we can have like some really good conversations about it. And then I get to sign the book. So that's always a lot of fun for me. That's like my favorite part of the program, like being able to come in and talk to the girls. So.
And so with the schools going through a lot of different changes, they have no problem with you coming in frequently to speak, or
it depends on the school.
Okay.
It depends on the school and depends on how they're using their money. So some of them, So mostly it's not a monthly thing unless it's like a local school, and I can just, I can lower my rates for that because it's local and I'm just driving. I don't have to pay for travel or overnight. True. But if I'm going to California, you guys are going to have to pay for me to come to California. So for those, it's usually like I'll come in at the beginning or come in at the end or right in the middle. And it's not like the monthly thing for them.
I love it. I love it. So tell me about your podcast.
Yes. Okay. So as I mentioned, Olivia is 12 now. She is a middle schooler. She is in 7th grade. And we have started a mother-daughter podcast. At first it was going to be my podcast, but after the first episode, she was like, yeah, our podcast. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, so it's our podcast. Cool. But she's an actress. So she carries the podcast. Let me be honest. She does. She makes it funny. She makes it interesting. And we talk about the different things from the book. So we get to talk about confidence. We talk about, authenticity and relationships and all those things. And it's fun because I can kind of give her advice and give the viewers advice from an adult perspective, but we can also hear her perspective as a middle schooler, and she does not pull punches. So it's a lot of fun. It is called the Fashionably L.A.T.E show, and it is right now it's only on YouTube. I don't do just like the straight audio, so it's more like a web show, honestly, but it's so much fun. When I can pin her down to film. Like that's the other challenge. Like she's so busy. She's in school obviously every day, and then she does acting. So she's busy a lot of times early in the morning and after school for like whatever drama stuff she has going on, auditions and all that. So honestly, it's kind of hard. She has a very busy schedule, for her to have volunteered herself to be my co-host. I would think she would make more time for me, but so right now it's a monthly. So we release new episodes once a month. And like I said, everyone is kind of around a chapter in the book. Now I am thinking that because the holidays are coming up and I'm going to be around some other family, we're going to probably have some other people on the podcast. I'm hoping to get my dad on and probably my sister. So that'll be some fun episodes to film as well. But we'll still kind of hit on the themes, but it'll be, add a little variety. But that'll be a lot of fun too.
Yes. And then it's also a great way to just bond with your daughter. You know, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So, now tell me about what got you interested in fashion to begin with.
Ooh, that's a good question. When I was writing the book, I was like, when did I start loving fashion? I grew up as a tomboy, but
What?
I grew up in the 90s. And so that was kind of the style. Like that was fashion in the 90s. You had the baggy jeans and the
That's
crop.
true.
Like that was me. That was my style. But I don't think I'm not sure that I wore it because it was the style or just because that's what I wanted to wear. But when I think about my mom, like she was one of those people that never left the house without makeup. Like she was dressed, like she was like, you're not going to catch me out in the streets looking a mess. Right. So I think that's kind of where my first love of like fashion and beauty kind of started. And then I am a very creative person. And I think one of the big ways that I express my creativity is through my clothes. And so I think that kind of just caught on, and people would be like, oh, where'd you get that? Or, oh, I like how you put that together. And one of my big
Mhm.
things when I first started with fashion was mixing, high end with you know, Walmart, Target stuff. Like that was always my personal style,
Okay.
is to mix high and low fashion. And so that
Okay.
was really, I think, really intriguing for people to see, like, oh, you don't have to wear all name brand. You can do
Right.
like I will put together a whole outfit from Walmart. And like that's like my funnest type of fashion because it's more
Yeah.
about style than
Yeah.
fashion. Like anybody can put on fashion, right? But not
Right.
everybody can style it to where it still looks good
That's
and it
true.
looks like you. So that's like my biggest, like when I style other people, when I talk to other people about fashion, like that's like my biggest message. Make it your own. Don't just put on head to
Mhm.
toe what you saw on the runway or what you saw on the mannequin. Like make it your, even if you're just swapping out one piece, make it your own. So I think I started loving fashion maybe in college, like consciously, but I think I've
Mhm.
always had a love of fashion and style and all of those things.
Yeah. And it does tie into self-esteem and feeling good when everything is looking right and feeling right.
Yes,
That's awesome.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember my first husband taught me how to be color coordinated because I just put on the outfit from the store. They
Yeah.
would dress it up and I'm just like,
No,
okay,
girl.
yeah.
He was like, let me help you.
No stars and stripes,
Yeah,
there's
right,
all
right.
kind of
That's
but
funny.
yeah, it is a talent, and I don't care to have people's designer names on me. I mean,
Mhm.
unless they're paying me, I don't really care to have it.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
just want to have great quality clothes and
Yes.
color coordinated, and I'm good.
Yes. Yes. Very nice. Yes.
So, is there anything you would like to share as far as what women should do for self-esteem?
Um, so for self-esteem, I guess one of my biggest messages is to love yourself, right? If you don't love, and it sounds cliche because it's
Right,
when you tell somebody love yourself, it's like, girl, I don't know how to do that. I don't love myself.
right.
So doing like the root work that it requires to really understand who you are, understand why you are the way you are, and then almost deconstructing to determine like if that was your idea. Like for me, it was a big thing. Like when I was growing up, my dad always told me, "Oh, you're going to be a surgeon," right? One day I said I wanted to be a doctor, and then I was probably like 5. And then from that point on, you're going to be a surgeon. This is my daughter, Candice. She's going to be a surgeon. I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, why not? Um, so when I went to Spelman, I was a pre-med major. And then I was like, I don't like all of this. I don't like all of this biology. I don't like, this is not interesting to me. And it was the hardest thing for me to do to switch my major. I switched my major to psychology. I kept the pre-med because I was like, let me at least get these science classes, but I
Mhm.
want to do something that I am actually interested in. And so I love psychology. I love like learning about the mind and how people operate and why people operate the way they do. So I switched my major, and when I told my dad, he was just like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
Cool. So like, but for me, it was like, oh my gosh, what's he gonna say? He's gonna be so disappointed. He's been telling people all these years, and he still calls me doc. He still calls me Dr.
Oh,
K. He's like, hey, Dr. K. He
oh,
doesn't do it as much anymore, but he still does that. And I think for him, it was just he was I think more happy for me to be doing something that I love than doing something
yeah,
that he kind of set up for me.
yeah.
But I think also the only reason he did that is because he thought it was really something that I wanted to do, right? It wasn't like, for him, it wasn't like I'm pressuring her to do this. It was more
Okay,
like I'm supporting her dream of
okay.
being a
Oh,
doctor. And the
that's
whole
so
time
cute.
I'm like, oh, I got to do it for my dad. Um,
Oh,
so that was one of the big things when I think back on that story, and just a lot of other things that I grew up thinking and believing. I have to ask myself, is that something that I actually wanted or something that I actually believed, or is that just what the
right,
expectation was, or
right.
is that what somebody else told me? So I think that to me, and it happened, of course, when I got close to 40, like it does with a lot of us women. But I try to teach our young girls now to like ask questions. If it's something that you don't agree with or that doesn't make sense to you, don't
Yeah.
just take it because an adult is telling you. Talk to them about it. Ask questions about things that you don't understand or that you maybe don't even agree with. So
Oh,
that's one thing that I always teach my daughter. But it really starts with like understanding yourself, and just deconstructing and reconstructing something that you do love. And that's kind of where that self-love comes from. And that will
mhm.
build your self-confidence as well.
Wow, that's a great answer, Candice. So, how can people find you?
So I can be found on Instagram at Candice Avery Style, and that's Candice with an I, Avery Style on Instagram. I also have a website, CandiceAvery.com. The website is for, if you want to purchase books or if you want to book me for any speaking gigs, you go through there, DM me. And I also can be found on the podcast, the Fashionably
Yeah.
L.A.T.E show on YouTube.
Awesome. I love it. I would love for you to come back in the future so we can find out what's going on in
Of
your
course.
world.
It's always
Okay.
something new. So I would love to come back.
That's true. That's true. Well, thank you so much for being on this show. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Stephanie, and I will see you
Oh,
soon.
oh yes. Thank you. Okay, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Beyond Boardroom Business. And with my host, Candice Avery, and Candice is spelled Candice, Avery, Avery. Make sure you check out her website, CandiceAvery.com, and go ahead and book her for speaking, purchase her books. She's full of information, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Again, thank you all for being available to watch this show. And until the next time, stay prayerful, stay powerful, and stay present.